What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and the next team up in this series is Team BDS. So Team BDS came in ninth place. Some people thought they'd be better going into the split. I was one of them. I didn't expect them to come in ninth. But let's just go through player by player and see where we're at. So with Adam, I think Adam's a good enough player. Horrible, well, that's maybe not a fair thing to say. A toxic human for sure right now. He's a young guy. He's only 19. Maybe he'll mature at some point. But the way he handled all the Fnatic stuff was kind of horrible. He is a carry top laner, and that is somewhat unique. A lot of top laners in the LEC just, aren't able to carry their team, like actually truly hard carry their team. And Adam has that upside, which is a good thing to have on your team as long as he can play the other side as well. So obviously he's not the shy. He'll never be the shy. But that's really what you that's the model that you kind of have to follow, because there will be games that you have to draft him something where he cannot throw the game away for you. And that's almost impossible for the shy. Like even now on Weibo Gaming, there are some games that he just kind of completely throws away. But that's the price that you have to pay in order to have this kind of player on your roster. And I think that ultimately it's worth it to have this kind of player on your roster. So I would definitely recommend keeping him for the future, outside of how toxic he might be. In the jungle, we have Syncroft. Syncroft is an older player, which isn't necessarily a problem. It's just that he's not good enough to be on a bottom of the table team at that age, thinking like, next split we'll turn it around. I just don't really see them turning it around because of the way that their roster is constructed. I think that best case scenario, they're a low-end playoff team in the summer. I don't really see them competing for the top spot, and if you're not competing for the top spot, you're not going to make it to Worlds. If you're a team that's okay not making it to Worlds year after year, then fine, keep playing Syncroft. But if your goal is ultimately to win Worlds, or at least be competitive and get to Worlds, you'll probably need to move on from him at some point. And that's not being mean towards him. That's just kind of the reality of the situation. There are better players in the LEC. And I don't think that Syncroft is really going to be able to be the difference maker in the jungle, and the jungle is very important. In the mid lane, we have Nuclear Int. Nuclear Int has been okay this year. It's kind of tough to get too much of a read on him because of how bad the team was around him, but he is also a contributor to that. It was a weird meta for mid lane, I guess. It seemed like a lot of the time you were asked to fill a role, not really play champions with tremendous upside. And maybe that's something that hurts Nuclear Int, but in the LEC you have a lot of better mid laners as well. So this is going to be a theme in these videos where if you're not a difference maker in your position, you're kind of just a liability, because it allows the other team to kind of draft against you aggressively. Because if you blind pick something that's basically a do-nothing champion, they're going to be able to counter pick you and get their mid laner onto a higher potential champion. So not great. Maybe he has something that we haven't seen so far, but then the question becomes, if they had that ability the whole time, then why wasn't it being showcased on stage? Why weren't they getting into drafts like that? And then in the bot lane, we have X, Maddie, and Limit. Limit, he's an okay support. We've seen him play really well in playoffs before. I like his aggressiveness, and he has the playmaking upside. I don't know what it was about this team that didn't kind of work out in regards to Limit. Because I know that Limit's good enough to be on... He's good enough to be a difference-making support. He's 23, so he probably has 1 or 2 more years where you can justify having him on your team, because he's not a transcendent talent or anything like that, but he's good enough. So maybe he's the kind of player who makes a move to a team that's a little better, or if BDS turns it around, he'll be one of the key contributing factors, solidifying the early game and allowing them to just win more games overall. X Maddie, I'm not impressed with X Maddie. I think it was kind of a waste of time bringing him in to the LEC, because at best I think you're getting somebody with the talent level of Kabe, and Kabe is not the best AD carry in the league. Upset is a better version of Kabe. X Maddie is a worse version of Upset and Kabe. So I don't know. I wouldn't want that kind of player on my team. I don't think there are many better options right now that are currently in the professional league. I don't pay much attention to like the regional leagues. I watch EU Masters sometimes, so I don't really know what other options are out there in Europe, but I would assume that there's a 16, 17, 18-year-old that's just as good, if not better, than X-Matty. And if you don't think that your window is right now to win, I'd probably move on to somebody else. Because worst case scenario is that person's not good enough either, and then you keep going until you try to find somebody who is a transcendent talent. And during that amount of time, the way that the meta kind of breaks out and the way that drafting goes, you'll probably get somebody good enough to not kill your team. So I guess BDS is at a point where they kind of need to figure out what their goals are for the next year or two. If they think that Syncroft is good enough to compete for Worlds next year or the year after, then maybe you can keep him around. I don't see it personally, but hey, I don't play with him every day, so maybe they know something that I don't. But that's it for this video. If you like this kind of video, comment, like, share, subscribe. Check out the promo code Pikel, thrivefantasy.com. They have props betting that's similar to DraftKings, so that's pretty cool. Deposit match up to $100, which is pretty awesome. So that's all I got for you in this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.